I graduated from the New England Conservatory in Boston, and I started teaching there. I started my private studio there, and then in 2001, I moved to the Pittsburgh area, and I've been teaching privately in Pittsburgh since 2001. I also owned a booking agency for live music where I booked musicians, local musicians for events, and I owned my own music school for a bit. It never really was a choice. It was something that I always knew as far back as I can remember, about age 3. I knew I wanted to be a flutist, and I would watch the symphony on TV, and I would wait for the flute players to come on and just study how they held the flute and how they formed their lips to make a sound, and begged my parents for a flute. And I had to wait till I was 9. But it's just always something that I always knew. And then along with that came piano studies as well. And I love the different approaches to reading music and playing music on both of the instruments. So it's just something I've always loved. Well, I get to know each student personally, and I spend about a month in the beginning when they first start lessons, trying different approaches, trying different concepts to see what they understand and what they don't understand, so I know where to start with them. And then I try explaining the same concept in a number of different ways to see which way they're most receptive to. And then I continue getting to know the child just by observation as lessons go on. And even outside of lessons, I'm thinking of ways that how can I make this student understand this specific concept? So it's just an ongoing process of trying to understand how each student learns individually. Okay, so that would depend on the student. It would depend on the level of the student, the goals of the student, whether it's a flute student or a piano student, how long they've been studying, if they have any specific performances or auditions coming up. It just has a lot of factors to take into consideration. But in general, I focus on basic scales and finger patterns that every musician needs to learn in order to recognize those patterns in the pieces that they're playing. And then we move on to, if it was a flute student, there are etudes that we learn. If it's a piano student, we work in a lesson book, which teaches them new songs every week, but focusing on new concepts that we're learning. And then there's a theory book as well. So all of my students are completely literate. They understand the theory behind what they're playing. And then if there's time, any given time of the year, we're usually working on a longer solo piece as well, and/or any audition pieces that they may need help with. Well, that goes back to getting to know each student and how they learn and what their personality is, what things are they interested in, what things are they receptive to. So I try to vary what we're learning in each lesson depending on the student's response to what we're doing currently. So if I see a younger student, for example, losing focus, I might take out my iPad and do a rhythm app or a note reading app or a listening game. I might put all the books away and make up a game that we do on the piano together. I might go back to a piece that they already learned and show them how easy it is for them now. So it's just a combination of different methods that I use, just depending on what is happening at any given time. Yes, and I love this story. My student was about 5 years old. She's a piano student, and she'd never been exposed to music before, and she has issues with anxiety and confidence. So in the beginning, when I was teaching her, anytime a new concept would come up that she hadn't done before, the tears would start flowing. And I started learning that it was just a confidence thing where she just didn't know how to do it right at that moment. And so she didn't want to try to do it. So after speaking with her parents and speaking with her, I developed trust between myself and the student. I made sure that she knew that I was never going to ask her to do something that I didn't think she could do. And after a while, she started trying things that she didn't know she could do, that I showed her that she could do. And now she is my most enthusiastic and successful student, and I haven't seen tears in about 2 years. And whenever I give her something new to try, she is excited to try it, and she's completely focused in her lesson. And when she makes a mistake, she's like, "Oh, let's try that again." And she just has the most positive attitude. So for me, that's a success story. Well, let me break that down. For flute students, it's the pleasure of sharing all of the pieces that I learned growing up, and I get the joy of hearing those pieces played again and learning those pieces again with new students and seeing the excitement that they have, which mirrors my excitement as a child. And then for piano students, I find it so interesting because the ages that I teach are from 3 to I literally have two 98-year-old students, so everything in between. So I find it fascinating all of the different ways in which people learn the same concept. So I just find so much excitement in understanding the way different people's brains process information, and then attacking that challenge of figuring out a way to bring the information to each individual student in a way that they will understand it and be successful. So for me, it's the individualization of each lesson is so different depending on the person I'm teaching. I would just say that we are going to go at your pace. There's no expectations. You don't have to keep up with anyone else or any specific schedule. We're going to go at whatever pace you are comfortable going at. And based on how much you're going to be practicing and what your goals are. And let's focus on the things that you get right every week instead of the things that you get wrong. Because especially for piano music, you have to think about so many things at one time. And I see a lot of students getting upset if they miss one thing, but then they overlook all of the things that they managed to get correct. So we try to focus on that and then figure out a way to learn the one thing that you might have missed. So it's a learning process. It's not a quick process, and you just have to enjoy the process of learning. It's not so that you're going to be an incredible piano player in a month. It's a lifelong learning process. Because as a musician, I know the difference I can make with my music in other people's lives. And that is why I am a musician. I know that music can affect your mood, can affect your day, can affect your thoughts, can affect the whole atmosphere around you. And I know that if I have the ability to do that and help someone's day be better, then I'm going to do that through my music. One thing that I focus on mainly in my community service is senior citizens, because I know that they really enjoy music that they recognize from when they were younger, and it brings back good memories for them. And that is the one thing that I focus on when I'm bringing my music into the community, whether it is just through myself playing with other musicians, or it is me bringing my students to play out in the public. It's mostly for senior citizens because I know the value that it brings to their lives.